Swamin Namaste Natalokabandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdho Mamuddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya Rijvyati Karunya Sudhabhivrishya Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Jnanasvarupam Nijabhavayuktam Anandamanandakaram Prasannam Yogindramidhyam Bhavarogavaidyam Srimadgurum Nityamaham Namami Srimadgurum Nityamaham Namami Nityaya Satyaya Chidatmakaya Navyaya Bhavyaya Paratparaya Shuddhaya Buddhaya Niranjanaya Namostu Nityam Guru Shekharaya Namostu Nityam Guru Shekharaya Namostu Nityam Guru Shekharaya. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So, with a gap of 2 months, I am live again, and I am wondering whether you have lost the connection or whether you remember at all what we were discussing. We were discussing the portion Chitta Prasadah from Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Saara Sangrahah, and we started with that section, which is 363rd shloka in Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Saara Sangrahah, and it goes to 375. I have done the first one, 363, where Shankaracharya is telling that to open the knots of the mind, the shackles of the mind, and feel liberated and feel the freedom, one must take refuge to the Sattva Guna. That is, every seeker, even though one understands the knowledge, is quite conversant with what is Atma, the Self, Brahman, understands the very concepts of how the Atma has been explained, the Brahman has been explained, and what is the process of sadhana, one will be able to progress in sadhana only when the mind becomes restful. Prasadah, the mind should become prasanna, tranquil, calm, absolutely restful without any modulations. And that is called Chitta Prasadah, placidity of the mind. Now, placidity of the mind, many times we have, when everything in life is according to what we have planned, everything is okay in the family, in the job, with the children, with money, wealth, name, fame, respect from others, everything is okay. Then the mind is very calm. there is not much difficulty. It's not the placidity of that kind. It is a placidity which is independent of everything. It is a placidity which is inherent of our real nature, our self, and it expresses forth spontaneously and makes us feel placid in all kinds of situations, whether the situations are favourable, whether the situations are unfavourable. The placidity is never lost. That kind of placidity. We have come across this word Prasadah in Bhagavad Gita in the Shloka 2.64. Many times, I think all of us have been referring to that. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischcharan atmavashyai vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. So there Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna that even in the midst of all kinds of sensory objects which allure the senses and draws the mind towards them, making the mind disturbed, agitated, disappointed sometimes, dejected sometimes. Even if one is in the midst of all that, if one takes to the sadhana of raga and dvesha, raga and dvesha being removed or going beyond raga and dvesha, that is, if one takes to the sadhana of going beyond likes and dislikes, that is the sadhana of samatva, and also restrains the mind and restrains the senses, then remaining in the midst of all kinds of situations, in the midst of all kinds of objects which we like to acquire and possess, one's mind will still have this placidity, prasadam. And what happens when we get that placidity? That placidity will be prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasopajayate. When the mind becomes placid, all kind of grief and sorrow are removed from the mind. Also in Viveka Chudamani, we often quote this verse, Vishuddha Sattvasya Gunaha Prasadaha. Now in Bhagavad Gita, there's two shlokas which I just now mentioned. Here, the prasada word is coming. In Viveka Chudamani, it is also saying that the prasada comes to such a person who is Vishuddha Sattva. Vishuddha Sattva Sattvasya Gunaha Prasadaha. The first quality, when a person is Vishuddha Sattva, whose Sattva Guna is at the pinnacle, he has that Guna, the quality which gets manifested in him is Prasadaha, placidity of the mind. And then other qualities are also mentioned. So, we understand that to have Chitta Prasadah, it is absolutely essential to have Sattva Guna in our sadhana. That is, our yearning should be to grow more and more sattvik in our thoughts, in our speech, in our behaviour, in our activities. We should be constantly alert to grow in Sattva Guna. Now how will we grow in Sattva Guna? Definitely we have to remove the Rajasika Guna and Tamasika Guna. Always you know that we have mixture of all three, and what will be our aim? To liberate ourselves from the shackles of the mind, to have a feeling of expanse, not getting fearful, not being under the grip of anxiety and unhappiness, afflictions, That is, the mind is free from all this. What we have to do? We have to grow in Sattva Guna, and Sattva Guna will definitely mean removing the Rajoguna and Tamoguna from our nature. So alertness, first of all, is very much necessary. So the very first sloka was Garbhavasana Jani Pranashana Jara Vyadhyadishu Praninam Yad Dukkham Paridrishyate Janarake Tachintayitva Muho Doshaneva Vilokya Sarva Vishayeshvasham Vimutyabhitaha Chittagranthi Vimochanaya Sumatihi Sattvam Samalambatam. Sumatihi, the intelligent seeker. The intelligent seeker, the seeker who has intelligence. All seekers have intelligence, but the seeker who applies the intelligence in this path and just not does mechanically whatever is heard or learned or read or chanted. So intelligence has to be used, and he has to understand that to become free, to become liberated, Sattva Guna has to be increased. And to do so, we have done in great detail that one has to have viveka, vairagya, mumuksha, and constantly remember that everything that we get attracted to and we want is transitory. This nature of this world is transitory, whereas the nature of our own self, the real self, is eternal. So we should try to grow towards that eternal state and not go after the transitory ones which can give us only transitory happiness for a short while, or maybe from an extended period it will give us some happiness, but those happinesses which come through this transitory objects or situations, those happinesses themselves are transitory and they will be over one day. Whereas the happiness and the fearlessness that we get, remaining steadfastly in the knowledge of the self, that I am the self and I am changeless, that happiness will give us only eternal happiness, eternal fearlessness, and eternal freedom. So these we have understood, and then from the next step, to grow in Sattva Guna, the Shankaracharya has told many qualities that what we have to do. So we may know lot of things, reading many books or hearing many lectures, very big, many texts we might be reading, beautiful shlokas are there, which are the experience of the seers, the wise ones, the knowers, experience of the knowers which they have written down or jotted down or expressed in words. So we can, when we read them, we go to that state, at least for some time, and we feel the magnanimity of that state. How beautiful is the state, how liberating is that state. But to go there, our adhara, that is, we ourselves, our personality, has to be ready to take that knowledge and be steadfast in that knowledge, be steady in that knowledge. And to be steady in the knowledge, what we should do is the qualities that will make us grow towards Sattva Guna, go towards the placidity, grow towards restfulness, we should try to imbibe, and we should always see that our mind is more and more becoming dispassionate to the opposites. That is, the qualities that we want to imbibe. Suppose you deal with them for some time, and the rest of the time or most of the time the mind roams about with desires for the opposite qualities, then there will not be any progress. However much one has interest, however much one knows, however much is a pandit, however much is one to even give lectures, one will not have freedom. So these talks we tell many times. So the second sloka, the next sloka was 364, where Shankaracharya, right next to this sloka, where he talks about Sattva Guna, he just brings Yama and Niyama. And he says, Yameshu nirato yastu niyameshu cha yatnataha vivekinastasya chittam prasadam adhigacchati. Just see, ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischcharan atmavashyeri vidhayatma prasadam adhigacchati. So if you compare, actually, the Bhagavad Gita shloka also it is saying restraining the mind, restraining the senses, and going beyond raga and dvesha. And here Shankaracharya is bringing in Yama and Niyama, which are also restraining of the mind, senses, etc. And saying that we should take to this yatnataha with lot of effort, lot of love, lot of one-pointedness. Like when we want to pass an exam. Say you are in a profession, you want to go to a higher post. Maybe you have to give an exam. With what yatna or effort, one-pointedness, you will study for it. Because you have to gain something. Here also this word yatnataha is very important. My dear children, when we read this, don't ever miss these points. Don't ever miss the words which are absolutely essential. Nothing is actually, nothing is there which is not necessary. So it says yatnataha. Remember, actually this yatnataha word can be remembered by any seeker. It should be remembered throughout the day. Throughout the day. Am I making an effort? Or is my effort only piecemeal? Is my effort only for some time? Is my effort getting spread to everything that I am doing throughout the day to find divinity, to find spirituality in everything? So, Yameshu nirato yastu niyameshu cha yatnataha vivekinastasya chittam prasadam adhigacchati. And it says that prasadam adhigacchati, here also, it says that you will attain placidity, but you have to have vivekaha. In Bhagavad Gita, ragadvesha viyuktaistu. That is, you must have samatva. How will you have samatva? Only by buddhi yoga. So, the intelligence has to work. Understand what is good and what is not good. See, this Niyama and Yama, I had done in great detail, and I will just go through. Niyama is ahimsa, satyam, satya, asteya, brahmacharya and aparigraha. That is, non-harming, non-hurting anybody. Satya is truthfulness, asteya is not stealing, brahmacharya is celibacy or dwelling in Brahman, aparigraha is non-accumulation, non-greediness. And when we discussed, we found that these are just not some qualities. These qualities can be attained only when you remember this fact, applying the viveka that I am the self. Because I am the self and everything else is the self, that is, it is not disconnected from the self-knowledge. These niyamas and yamas, this is yama. These yamas and niyamas, we can take it as some kind of discipline. But for a spiritual seeker, this has to be associated to the spiritual knowledge. So I am the self and everything is the self. So how can I harm anybody? If the self that I am is the same self everywhere, who can harm whom? So, for everything we have explained in that manner, not just as a discipline that you should not harm anybody, or you should be truthful, you should not steal anything, you should be having celibacy, non-greediness, etc. For everything we have been explaining and discussing in a manner that we remember through these disciplines that I am the self and self is everywhere, it is all-pervading, universal. So that is why there is no differentiation, no differential attitude. So that is why I am not able to do anything harmful. And niyama is shaucha, observances. These are observances, and or you can say positive duties which we should do. Shaucha, that is purity of the body and mind. Santosha, contentment. Tapas, austerity. Swadhyaya, study of the spiritual text, or Atma Anusandhana. Swadhyaya is just not that saying that every day I spend 2 hours in Swadhyaya. That is, you read spiritual books. That is not enough. You, through this reading, or if you listen also, you have to do this spiritual anusandhana. Go deep and deep and deep into your personality so that you get united with yourself. So, Swadhyaya. And the next one is Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to God or Paramatma. So this Ishvara Pranidhana I will do today. Other things I have done, and in this Niyama also, as we have discussed in Yama, in Niyama also we have turned everything as a spiritual discipline where taking up any of the disciplines, the discipline is not just, like exercises we do in the morning, we do physical exercises. Not that. Through every exercise, you are getting connected to the truth, the knowledge that I am the self and I am Brahman. Everywhere is the self. That oneness, that though there is plurality, beneath that is the oneness, the one consciousness, one presence, which manifests into all this plurality. But never to forget that it is the same self. Never to fall from that knowledge. How will we not fall? Only when we dwell for more and more number of hours of the day. Our hours of the day is only 24 hours. Out of that, maybe 7-8 hours or 6-7 hours you will be sleeping. Then 1 or 2 hours will be for taking bath and taking food, etc. Rest of the time, some part will be in our profession or household duties. But even then, while doing activity, turn every activity as given by God. Otherwise, every action becomes just an action. It just becomes a work, and you don't find any divinity in that. So through all this, we have to establish the divinity which is our treasure, which is our real essence. Everybody is potentially divine. We are the self, and that is why we are pure, we are always liberated. See, Nitya Shuddha Vimukta. It is, we are eternal, we are pure, and we are liberated, free. So today I will try to discuss the Ishvara Pranidhana. It is very beautiful actually. Ishvara Pranidhana. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, this Ishvara Pranidhana has been defined very well, discussed very well. And through this Ishvara Pranidhana, see, we have all grown up, most of us. I think most of us, at least here, grown up with a faith in God. Grown up with worship of God. Some may not be too much given to ritualistic worship, but going to temples, worshipping in different festivals, when we have the worship of different deities and gods, we grow up with that. But this Ishvara Pranidhana, what we grow up with is that we go to temples or in our houses, there may be some puja shrine, we go there, we pray there, we give puja, we give some nivedyam, we chant some slokas. It is much beyond that for any seeker. You have to find that Ishvara, God or Self, everywhere, at all times, in everything. Because that is the truth. Bhagavatam says, Vadanti tat tattvavidaha tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. So the tattvavidaha, who is Tattvavidaha is plural. Tattvavit, the one who has realized the tattva. What is the tattva? The spiritual wisdom, the knowledge. What is the knowledge? That I am the self, imperishable, eternal. I cannot be distracted, I cannot be moved, I cannot be tainted. There is no affliction, there is no fear, there is no affectation in that self. I am that. My real identity is that. But by the mistaken identification with this changeful body, mind, intelligence, we feel we are always having affectations and afflictions. So the tattvavit, they know the truth, the spiritual truth, and they never fall from that truth. Just like we never fall from the knowledge, what is my name? Where is my house? Who are my siblings? Whether parents are alive? Where do I have to go? We never forget those things. Wherever we are, we will remember these things. A mother, after being a mother, whatever she does, she will never forget her children. It is like that. So how does it happen? Because the assimilation of identity becomes so strong. A mother, a girl got married. Till that time, she was a girl. She would say, I am a daughter. And after that, when she gets married, it takes maybe few days to every moment feel, oh, now I am somebody's wife. And when she becomes a mother, she feels, oh, I become a mother. And then that wifehood, the motherhood, becomes part of her. The identity of the daughter remains. But the new identity takes over. She never has to be reminded that you are somebody's wife now, or you are a mother now. So similarly, we have forgotten our identity. We feel, I am identified with the body. The body changes, the mind changes, the intelligence changes, the ego changes, everything changes. That is, we are experiencing. But we have forgotten our actual identity, which is changeless, the self. The tattvavit, when by their sadhana, they realize that forgotten identity, they never fall from that. So, these tattvavits, because they have realized, and then they are moving about in this world. With what? With this knowledge. Say a person acquires wealth, has got education, then gets a job, gets good salary, saves money, there is bank balance. He moves about with that. A tattvavit moves about with what? He has nothing. He has only that tattva jnana as his whole acquisition. And he becomes that. He is that. It's not different from him. He becomes that. So those tattvavits, after having realized, they are moving around the world and they show the characteristics of being a tattvavit. And they tell the people that you are also the self. Don't forget, you have forgotten. I will help you to know that you are the self. So this tattvavit, what they say, vadanti tat tattvavidaha tattvam yajnanam advayam. What tattva they have acquired or have realized? Advayam jnanam. That is, the self is one. God is one. Brahman is one. It is the same everywhere. Advayam. And it says that Brahmeti, that same jnana, we say in spirituality, Brahman. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. So, the same Brahman is sometimes called as Brahman, sometimes Paramatma, and mostly by devotees as Bhagavan. So there is no difference. So we grow with devotion, we worship God, but this worship of God, it's much more than what we think. So it says, Ishvara Pranidhana in this Niyama factor of Ashtanga Yoga. And Patanjali Yoga Sutra said, Ishvara Pranidhanat va. That is, by Ishvara Pranidhana, you can become completely spread with divinity. Your whole existence will be filled with God and God alone. So what is Ishvara Pranidhanat? It says that Samyak Atma Samarpanam. Pranidhanaha Samyak Atma Samarpanam. There is complete, absolute, unconditional surrender to the divine, without asking for anything in exchange. So if we consider ourselves to be devotee of Ishvara, Bhagavan, you leave aside self, it is the same thing. What do we do generally? We go to the temples, we worship, we give puja, we get some prasada from the priest, and we feel fulfilled that we have given puja. And what do we pray for? We always pray that let our family be all right, everybody be all right, girl get married, son must get a job, and whatever. There may be a case running, it should be, I should win it. There may be some disease, and people will vow that if one recovers, I'll come and give you some puja. So our puja, our connection with Ishvara is like this. It is like a trade. I'm giving you puja, so you give me something. It is not that. The Ishvara, the Samarpana, one must have complete Samarpana or some complete love for God, so that you don't even look for anything from God. When a child is born, the mother looks after the child, bathes the child, dresses the child, and then feeds the child. If the child is crying at night, how much the mother sacrifices. Day after day, she has to wake up at night. At that time she doesn't expect anything from the child, nothing. That the joy of looking after the child, that is the most dominant emotion in the mind. Of course, later when the child grows up, the parents will feel that my child should look after me. When I grow old, my child should look after. All those things as impurities come. But initially, the mother's love is the most pure love. So there it is Atma Samarpanam. Here Ishvara Pranidhana is complete, absolute, unconditional surrender. Ahetuki and apratihata. Unmotivated surrender, unmotivated love. And if there is some disturbance in the devotional life, some difficulties come, still the devotion and love for God does not get reduced at all. Like Prahlada was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, but his father brought about so many difficulties because the father was an enemy of Lord Vishnu. So seeing that the son is getting so much attracted to Lord Vishnu, has so much devotion, so much reliance on Lord Vishnu, father was very annoyed. So at one time he tried to kill the son. What all he did, he asked people to throw him from the mountain. A mad elephant was asked to go over the child, gave poison, so many things he did. But having suffered all these, Prahlada's devotion did not diminish. But in human beings, mostly when difficulties come, people lose their devotion. The other day somebody was saying that has been having some difficulties in the family, in the health, that all my devotion, all my thoughts about God has gone. I just cannot think anything. Maybe it's a temporary phase, but it happens. So, pranidhanaha, pra is samyak, nidhanaha is refuge or shelter. So, pranidhana is taking complete refuge or shelter in the Supreme and Divine. That is, you completely feel that you are sheltered by God. You offer yourself to God. And that is the truth. This, though we say that we belong to God, this remains as an oral knowledge. Oral knowledge. That I belong to God, I am surrendered to God. All these things should become one's own nature. Through how? Through intelligence. How will we know? See, all our austerity, all our sadhana should take us to this tattva. The tattva jnana for us, if you are a devotee, or if you are pursuing Vedanta, where you say that I am the self, all austerity, all sadhana, all pursuit, all reading, all contemplation should lead us to this feeling that God alone is, self alone is. And then when we surrender, what is this surrender actually? Or feeling. I say that, oh, I am now reading about Ishvara Pranidhana. So what should be my attitude? How should I start thinking now? I should start thinking that God alone is, and He is all-pervading. He is the self. He is inside us, outside us, on this side, up, down, everywhere. We are only surrounded by that truth. You may call it truth, you may call it conscience, consciousness, you may call it the presence, you may call it God, Brahman, all that. That is, we don't know how God is, who God is, till we are united. We may know only the characteristics. What is the self? We know only the characteristics. But we must grow a feeling that everything, what we see, this plurality, is in essence the same self, the same God. And we cannot fall from that knowledge. Here what happens? Whatever we do, our pursuit, we fall from the knowledge. When? During activity. During activity, during behaviour, we fall from the knowledge. As long as we are hearing, reading, thinking, contemplating, it's very good. It gives us a very nice feeling. But as soon as we go into activity, we find that we are falling down from that knowledge. So, how to grow that Sattva Guna so that we don't fall from that knowledge at all? So when we mentally constantly think that I belong to God, I belong to God, and that feeling leads to a feeling of secure refuge in the mind. And this will happen only when the mind is not cluttered with desires, cluttered with ego, cluttered with possessiveness. My dear children, ultimately everything boils down to desirelessness, possessiveness less. You should be lack of possessiveness you must have. You must not have ego, which afflict the mind, which disturb the mind. Why the mind is getting disturbed, why you are not able to be seated in this knowledge, you must try to find out yourself. And there comes the vairagya. So all these are, I'm taking this Chitta Prasadah. The vairagya word has not come as yet as a word in this sloka. But never feel that these slokas are all independent. In one sloka, everything will not be told. But you have to, whatever you have learnt about vairagya, whatever you have learnt about sadhana chatushtayam, whatever you have learnt about viveka, the mumuksha, all these should be yours. So that when you grow with step by step learning from the shastras, in different shastras, this you are ready, your personality is ready by the qualities which are necessary for you to retain the knowledge and not fall from the knowledge. So, ego has to be dissolved. There will not be any kartritva or bhoktritva. And the reliance that we must have, in our life, we must have reliance. Providence is a factor. In the ashram, many times I used to tell Swamiji, when there will be more of activity and we are less of ashramites. So I used to tell Swamiji that how these things will be done. The projects or the things that we have taken up, how these will be done. Big, big things. We are trying to help the society. A number of people that we want to help. It sometimes becomes a huge affair. How will we do, Swamiji? Swamiji always used to tell me, have reliance. Have reliance. We have not started it. It has come our way and we have taken up. So, it will be done. So have reliance. Many times he has told me, you lack reliance. That is why things are not happening. That is why you are feeling how this will be happening. So this reliance in everybody's life, we must know that there is a supreme on whom we should rely. Who is the supreme? You can call it God, self, Brahman, anything. The supreme power. And we plan our life. Every day we will plan something. Many of the things will get done. Many of the things do not get done. Many of the things we have planned, we have prepared, and we find the result is absolutely different. Why? There is a divine design for everything. So, we should not feel that we are doing things. Our problem, because we are identified with the body, mind and intelligence, we grow this I-ness. What is that? I am doing, I am good, I am efficient, or I am not that good, I am not very important, I am always miserable. So this I-ness becomes so much prominent that we are not able to remain in our identity which is fixed, which has no change, which has all power. So for that, we have to constantly remember that I am God's and God is mine. What is true surrender? That is, we surrender. We surrender. The surrender arises, when the surrender arises, there is a belongingness. We feel we belong to our family. And the family people belong to us. And maybe some very close friends and relatives, we feel they all belong to us. And all our properties, all our objects that we enjoy in our life, all belong to us. But this belongingness which we feel, that these things belong to me, all those items which we feel belong, they are all transitory. They are momentary. They are not eternal. They do not stay. Even if you buy a new car, you feel that, oh, this beautiful car which nobody has in the neighborhood, it belongs to me. After some time, it becomes old. After some time, it starts giving trouble. So, without thinking, what did I say just now? We have to rely on the Supreme, God, Self. And how do we rely? When we rely, there is a feeling of oneness, feeling of security, feeling of belonging. So, we have to understand that the belongingness which we feel when we connect with the Supreme, the Divine, that belongingness never ceases. All other things which belong to us cease. They disappear. But when we grow into this knowledge, constantly throughout in our day-to-day life, we remember, we may forget many times, but again we make ourselves remember that I belong to God. I belong to God. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Mattas sarvam pravartati. Krishna has said that everything, source is me. From me alone everything has emerged. And all the activities that are going on, it is activated by me. There are many slokas. We have dealt with these slokas. You must read this and connect this. No Shastra is just one Shastra. You have to connect them. Then only it becomes full. As a full knowledge, it gives so much of joy to understand. And it is not difficult. So, this belongingness we must develop. That I belong to you. Like a fool I feel, all these things belong to me. Yes, they do, definitely. My children, my wife, my husband, my parents, my in-laws, my friends, my workers who serve me, all belong to me. And I have to do work for them. I have duties for them. I have to be responsible for them. But to whom do I belong? To whom do I belong? It is I belong to somebody. Because of that belongingness, I am able to do everything. That truth of my belonging to some source, which is the Supreme, I forget. And when we use our intelligence and we start doing discrimination, introspection, we'll find that the same source is also responsible for the belongingness of everybody else. Everybody belongs to that source alone. I, as a fool, think that I am the ones who are protecting these people. They belong to me. So, what is the role of intelligence here? The role of thinking purely, thinking with clarity one has to do. And for that, my dear children, how much time do we give? We don't give. Morning we give maybe maximum 1 hour. We will chant and we light a lamp and we keep a paduka of the Guru. We will worship the Guru, we will chant few things, and that's all. After that, do we give any thought in these? That how I am connected to God ever. That belongingness is never ceasing. I have to understand it. That is called Nitya Yuktata. And that the belongingness will become prominent and prominent only when the desires, possessiveness, ego, and constantly allowing the mind to go into such things which are changeful. We have to stop that. We have to restrain that. There are certain things for which we have to have such thoughts to maintain the family, to earn money for the maintenance of the family, to live comfortably. Those things are okay, but unnecessary things not. Actually, we are ever surrendered, but we have forgotten. That is what? So, we forget this and we are not able to remember that I myself belong to that supreme power. We forget that. And we have a misunderstanding that I am identified with my body. Now the question is, can this misunderstanding be corrected? Yes, it can be corrected. And that is why Ishvara Pranidhana is so important. So do you understand? What did I say till now? That Ishvara Pranidhana, in the process of seeking liberation from the shackles of the mind, seeking expansion of the mind, seeking freedom, seeking fearlessness, seeking unaffectedness, Ishvara Pranidhana is one of the most important things. That is, you feel everywhere that divinity is, and that is your real nature. You never forget that you belong to that divinity, you are the divinity, and you are the self. Now the misunderstandings with which we go on in our life has to be first understood. To what extent it is deep, we have to understand, and how to get rid of it, that also we have to understand. See, in Kathopanishad it says, Nayama atma pravachanena labhyo na medhaya na bahuna shrutena yame vaishavrinute tena labhyaha tasya ishatma vibrinute tanum swam nayamatma pravachanena labhyo. It says that the Atma, I was talking of belongingness. What is that? That is understanding that I am the self. I am the self. My real identity is the self. I belong to that self. I am united with that self, the Nitya Yuktata. So, it says that Na ayamatma pravachanena labhyo. By pravachana or lecture, that Atma is not realized, attained. Na medhaya, you may be very intelligent. You cannot just by intelligence you cannot. Na bahuna shrutena, even if you listen about the Atma, again and again repeatedly, over and over again, the Atma will not be attained by you. Then who will attain it? Yame vaisha vrinute tena labhyaha. Yam eva esha vrinute. Those who consider Atma to the Supreme, and they vrinute, they consider this to be the Supreme, Atma to be the Supreme, and they take the Atma to be the Supreme in their life, make it the supreme thing in their life, not anything else. Yame vaisha vrinute tena labhyaha. Those who have that kind of an attitude, they understand that by pravachana it will not be available, by medha it will not be available, by only listening it will not be available. Only the yearning for the Atma, those who have, making Atma the supreme in life, tasyaisha Atma vibrinute tanon swam. To them alone the Atma reveals its nature. So those who have that kind of yearning, they feel, what do they do? For them, the Supreme, the Self, the Brahman is everywhere. They do not see anything except Brahman or Self. And for that, what they have done, they also have gone through many pursuits where first they will be quietening the mind, because in the quiet mind alone the Atma is revealed. So this is Nitya Yuktata. When whoever chooses the Self as the Supreme, the Self reveals its true nature to them. Then there is union with the Self or God. This is Nitya Yuktata. I think in most of my talk, I talk about this Nitya Yuktata. My dear children, whatever we may do, I think the yearning should be to be Nitya Yukta. Whatever I am doing, from the time one is awake to the time one is asleep, remain Yukta, united. See God everywhere. Feel Him outside, feel Him within, feel Him in action, feel Him in behavior, in speech, in people whom you like, in people whom you do not like, in talks or speeches or somebody's utterance which hurt you, in that. Which, if suppose somebody has praised you, in that. If there is favourable conditions, in that. If there is unfavourable condition, in that. Someday we are enthusiastic, in that. Someday we are not enthusiastic, in that. Someday you feel that you are not progressing at all, in that. Someday you feel so energetic about your progress in sadhana, in that. Where is He not? He is everywhere. And when we start thinking this, using our mind, using our intelligence, using our love and yearning for that state, possessiveness automatically will fall. Ego will fall. Clinging will fall. Because we are not wanting anything else. Because anything else doesn't give us this kind of a feeling in the mind, where we feel divinity alone. This Nitya Yuktata, inside and outside, everywhere, in everything. Everybody says, when we listen to all this, we feel very great. We feel everything is easy. But when we go back, all vanishes. Why should it vanish? Make the home, make your profession place, make whatever you are doing full of divinity. Know that truth, that whatever you are doing, whether you like it or not, that also is self's expression. This time, on my birthday, Swamiji told me, always remember, self and interaction. Interaction is the extension of the self. Remember it always. We don't remember. And we don't try to remember also. We always make a difference. That this is spiritual and this is worldly. That should merge. Because then only the Ishvara Pranidhana will be perfect. Because there is nothing where he is not. Where he is not. It becomes very easy to see him in nature, in the birds, butterflies, clouds, breeze, rain, in the sunshine. But it is not easy to see him in interaction, in people, in our likes and dislikes, in our opinions, strong ideas. It's difficult to see him there. So, this Ishvara Pranidhana is very, very important. So in Bhagavad Gita, what is he saying? Yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarchya siddhim vendati manavah. So, in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna is saying that Yata pravrittir bhutanam, all the activities that we are doing, and it is from him, that same source. Yena sarvamidam tatam, and he alone is pervading everything. So I am taking this sloka particularly to remind you that everywhere it is written so. So when we read the Shastras, when you are listening, the Satsangs, where you are listening to Satsangs, whether you are discussing with people, whether you are just reading yourself, this should come to your mind that, oh, yes, I belong to him because I am in that. I am not separate from God. He alone is, so I am a part of it. Just like the whole universe is God or self alone or Brahman alone, and I am a part. I am also included in that. That is why I belong to him. But foolishly I think many things belong to me. How foolish I am. How can I claim the belongingness of other things which belong to him? And only because we do not remove that foolishness, ignorance, we keep on feeling that these are mine, these are mine, these are mine, and get attached and become possessive, become egoistic about them, and suffer. And how simple it is. One thing, that self alone is, Brahman alone is, God alone is. So, where is my existence? Am I saying all these things apart from him? Then how can he be alone? Then there will be a dual thing. So this alone is one with us again. I am in that. And naturally, then I cannot claim to be the master of anything. I have no control. I cannot control anything. Nothing belongs to me. Nothing I can control. Everything is designed by him, assigned by him, all the work, though I think that I have done it only because it was designed that I will succeed today, I have succeeded. It is only because it was designed that I will not be successful today, I have not been successful. But he has given us this mind and intelligence not to be lazy, to be working excellently as he is doing. What is he doing excellently? This universe, excellently going on and on and on, including our body, this machine of the body, excellently he is managing it every day. The sun rises, the sun sets, the moon rises, the moon sets, the rivers flow, the seasons come, the fruits come, the flowers come. Just one by one by one by one. We don't do anything. We have no hand in that. The birds, when they are about to have children, they make a nest. We don't go and tell the birds that you make a nest. So who is doing this? Some power is the source. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Mattas sarvam pravartate. That power is doing, and it is doing for me also. So I cannot be the karta. This kartritva bhava that I am this, I am that, should simply dissolve. So, yata pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Says that at most what we can do is whatever work they have been given every day, from the morning when we get up, we have to do so much work. We are active people. We can constantly remember Him. How will we remember Him? How will we do this Ishvara Pranidhana? How will we feel offered to Him, surrendered to Him, remembering Him that I have no separate entity. I am the self and you are the self. I am you. I belong to you. And because of you, all activities are going on. So, whatever activity you have given me to do today, I offer to you. I worship you with my work. I worship you lighting a lamp. I worship you placing a flower. I worship you giving some nivedyam. I worship you lighting an incense stick. Then I worship you chanting your stutis. But how long? I have to be active. I have to go to the market. I have to cook food. I have to go to office. I have to do many other things. All those things you have given me and asked me to do. So, I will consider these as my offering. How can an offering be, action become offering? When we do not think that I am doing. Ego should not be there. And when we actually do a puja, say on festivals or some pujas, just now Ganesh Chaturthi was there, now Durga Puja is going to come. We do puja with so many items. We try to give the best of items to the idol. And when we are in our day-to-day life, we do worship to the Lord who is the universe, universal Lord, the Supreme. We try to offer the best with our work. That is, do the work excellently and do not have any possessiveness about the work or the result of the work. Result will come. Whatever result comes, have samatva bodha, accept. If it is according to what you desired, it's okay. If it's not according to your desire or wish or plan, that is also okay. This is surrender. This is surrender. So I think I'll stop here today. Next time I'll go further. I can only say, we are traveling, then we are having these online classes. I find with myself that I feel that the whole thing is very, very simple, very enjoyable, and it is very divine. A very simple thought to be remembered, that I have no control over myself. I belong to you. I am part of you. And whatever is coming my way is coming as a prasada to be done. And I will do it excellently. Excellently. let whatever be the result, success or failure, I will accept. But in everything, every moment, in every particle, in every thought, in every likes and dislikes, I will see only you, feel only you, and nothing else. This should be the aim. Okay. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarva Vasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani Sarva Vasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru.